Fast Forward Productions. The women are speaking.
Hi guys, welcome back to The Unfiltered Entrepreneur. I'm your host, Ashley Pollard, and today we have another incredible Ashley on the podcast, Ashley Bennington. Ashley Bennington is now one of my dear friends in business, but she actually started as a client of mine at the very beginning of when she started her business. And to see the way it's grown through the years has been so admirable, so respectable, and I'm really loving what she's doing in her space. Not only that, I like the way that she's showing up for herself, that she's taking risks, she's being vulnerable. And on this episode, you're going to hear a lot about kind of the mindset shifts that need to be made as an entrepreneur because she is so generous with what she shares with us today. If you want to follow her, you can find her at Ashley Bennington or at By the Blazer. Go check her out if you're interested in any consulting or coaching group programs, services, etc. And let's dive into the episode. All right, welcome back to The Unfiltered Entrepreneur. I'm your host, Ashley Pollard, and we have another amazing Ashley with us today, Ashley Bennington. Hi, Ashley.
I'm so excited. Another Ashley, double trouble.
I know everybody's just going to be so overwhelmed with like joy and like how incredible and like probably like, beautiful and amazing and inspiring we are because our name is Ashley.
Because our name is Ashley. And we're amazing aunts. I was telling my friend Lauren the other day, because I was talking about you. I was like, yeah, my other friend Ashley, who you've met, like she's always posting with her like family and her nieces and nephews. And I was like, Ashley's, I think, make the best aunties. So
I am such a good auntie. My nephew is my best friend in the world, which sounds crazy because he doesn't know anything about me, but I'm obsessed with him. And last night he was over here. I made dinner for my family and he loves playing hide and seek, but like he tells you where to hide. And when he finds you, he wants to like lay there for a very long time. Like he doesn't really understand hide and seek. He's 2. So he'll say, let's play hide and seek. Go hide in the bed. And I'll say, okay. Then he'll walk around. I wonder where Ashley is. Where is Ashley? And I'm like, you told me you're on the bed, dude. You know where I'm at. And so I was laying in the bed, like hiding, quote unquote. And he comes in and he goes, Ashley, I think it's time we go to sleep. Shay Shay's tired. And I was like, okay. And so we lay down and he says, you tuck me in, I tuck you in. So I tuck him in and then he tucks me in and he goes, and he goes, snore, Ashley. So cute. I just am so fucking obsessed with him. You just wait till Nora's older. Like, it's painful.
Right. Oh, Nora, my Nora girl. Well, I think it's nice because like at this stage of my life, I'm not like interested in having kids. So I have like my business baby and then I have like a real baby, but it's not mine. So there's like that. I don't have to be fully responsible, like, and keep them alive every second. But obviously like an amazing year for business. Like I'm so grateful for like that side of my life. But that's just something that I didn't expect. I knew I would like love being an aunt and like Lauren's one of the closest people in my life and I have other friends also having kids and it's just been like an extra like joy and kind of like purpose beyond just my own business success. So I'm sure you get that. I mean, Lauren's not even related to me. She's almost like, we're not actually sisters or anything, but I'm like one of the greatest things of this year, honestly, is just being on top of business. Yeah.
And then my brother has 2 boys and a girl, and they're 8, 10, 12, I want to say. And then that's even fun because they like have phones. You know what I mean? Like that's a whole different level of fun. You know what I mean? You could be like, who's your girlfriend? Tell me about her. What are we doing? You got to impress her by doing this. You can't be doing this. It's funny. Well, I'm so glad that you're here. I know that now we're just like, we could talk about fucking, the cutest little family members forever. I could talk about Seamus like for the rest of my life. But, I want to talk about business. We are in The Unfiltered Entrepreneur, and I want to just congratulate you. I talked to you yesterday, but I haven't seen you to formally congratulate you on hitting the $1 million mark in your business. Congrats.
Thank you. It's weird because I think at some point in your business, you like really want to hit something and it like becomes incredibly important to you. And then it became not as important to me because I just cared so much more about like the vision of the business. And I think when you're like newer, it's like, how much money can I make? I didn't really think about it until I was looking at numbers with my own business coach about a month and a half ago. And I was like, fuck, like, wait, I'm really, really close to this. Like, how can I hit this? And then all of a sudden I tracked it and I set a goal of wanting to hit it under 2 years of starting my business. And yeah, it was a really exciting milestone to hit. And now I think I can say like, okay, I've done it. I don't care about the multi-million or the 5. I'm just like, now I'm just ready to it and figure out how big I can get it. And if that's 2, if that's 5, if that's 10, like I'm just excited about what's next now, but I don't feel the pressure to like hit a number. I'm like, okay, I've hit the number that I wanted to hit. Now I can just enjoy it. I'm sure you like probably felt the same.
I mean, I've definitely hit it lifetime, but with Teammate Consulting, we'll probably close this year at about 5. And Dial Zero, granted, we've only been open since April, and I think we're going to do about 2, maybe like 180 actually. Fast Forward is a little bit less, maybe like 150. And then Me Time like makes like $5 a minute, or $5 a month. Like it makes nothing, but next year is going to be a little bit aggressive. But, you know, under the Cocky Ventures umbrella, which is now out, definitely have hit $1 million. And I think what's interesting is that, like, for me, I don't think that I ever thought I could even hit $250,000 in business. And I remember not tracking my sales my first full calendar year because I started mid-year when I started the first year. And I was tracking the number. It was maybe August, September. And I went into Stripe, looked at my year to date, went to PayPal, looked at my year to date because those are the only 2 places that I capture payment or process payment. And I was like, wait, I've had like $280,000 and it's September in that first full calendar year. And I was like, oh, I'm good. Like, this is working. And I think that that's probably what you're saying. You felt is this level of like, okay, now that I'm not like reaching for something anymore, I can run this strategically. I can run it well. Not that you don't run it well or strategically. You obviously very much do. But like, you know, the goalpost shifts into almost like what I found is processes. Like now my win is efficiency versus financial. But I'm wondering like how that goalpost shifts for you. Is it, you said it's not a further financial mark. So like, what is the next goalpost?
Yeah, I think efficiency is is honestly a great way to describe it. For me, I'm looking at next year from the financial standpoint of like, if we wanted to achieve something like this, like what type of efficiencies I'm having in place. And I think what's crazy is I did that entire first $1 million pretty much as a solo gal, like no team, no nothing, had a full-time job, 10 months of it, which was still kind of wild. Like I literally just put full-time 13, 14 months ago. I wonder when this episode comes out if my parents will know that I have a business yet, but they still think I'm at my full-time job. So it's really been like a journey of like, just do as much as possible, learn as much as possible. Like, what does the next month look like? What does the next like 2 months look like? And I think for the first time, I'm approaching this new year with like, what does the next 3 years look like? And I've never been able to do that because I've hired 3 people in the last 2 weeks. So lots of changes there. I'm bringing in teams and support, which I know you and I have talked about so much. Like, you need support. But I think for me, it's like, what's the vision and how can we create to the vision? How can we create efficiencies for business? How can we set up systems for the vision? And the vision might have that financial number like tied to it, but it's not necessarily that's not the win for me. The win for me is we can take on 200 women in our programs next year and that they can have amazing success without me having to handhold them as much as I probably am right now. Or I'm in a position now where we have more impact, or I'm able to focus on my personal brand as much. Like the vision is the most important thing. And I think that encompasses a lot of things, but like, I don't genuinely care as much about how much I make next year. And I think that that's really exciting as an entrepreneur. And I think people don't talk about that as much because I don't think a lot of people ever get there. I think people are so consumed with the money piece, and then they never really build a brand. They never build that successful business because it's just like it's a hustle. It's always a hustle. And I think when you can break out of that, that's when you really feel like you own a company versus I'm making money with some type of business or I sell a service. Like it's just a different feeling. And I think I've really seen that transpire in just my conversations and the way I think about my business and my business decisions and hiring over the last couple months. So I think I'm just really excited to embrace that and feel that for like an extended period of time.
I think that's super fair. And, you know, it's interesting because when we are doing financial projections for our clients in the roundtable, because I guess I actually do take private clients now. I forget that like we're recording this before the rebrand where I'm like, I don't take private clients, but I am this year, while you're listening to this. But what's interesting with what we do with our private clients is what I always find is that if someone comes to me and says like, I did 250,000 this year, I'd love to do 350 next year. I think like a 10 or 15% increase can be done with this same energy and better systems. Like you will scale, you will do more next year over this year. First of all, just because of the momentum that you've built, but with like cleaner systems with ease. And I think it's nice to have like push periods and rest periods. And sometimes that's within a year, sometimes that's a year itself. I feel like last year was a coast period for me. Like I was traveling all around the country. I was like living in LA and living in, like I went to Nashville and I went to Miami and I went to North Carolina. I lived in New York again. And like I was just like all over the place. And that was really nice for me because I needed a year to have fun in my business. I did the bare minimum. I was doing 4 VIP days a month and had my membership. I wasn't really doing much more than that. And it was a coast year. It was really, really re-energizing. I took 3 months off. The business still made like 20 to 50 grand a month. And for me, it was really nice to just kind of be able to like just chill. There was also a month where I like laid off the whole team because I was like, I need to like rebuild this whole thing. My point there is that like I came into this year saying I really need to reset the foundation, and 2024 is the year that I am up to the races. All of that to say that I like the direction that you're heading, and I want to talk about that hiring piece. Now, you said you're hiring. What kind of responsibilities, what kind of roles are you filling at the moment for this? Like I have been in a solopreneur space for, years. You've had a tiny bit of assistance, but nothing really of massive impact as far as like true dedication to the business, I would say. But tell me if I'm wrong. So like what kind of roles and responsibilities have you dipped into now that you are really trying to focus on that team growth?
Yeah, well, I think one of the things that I really thought through, so as of right now recording, I run 2 different businesses, but I've decided to kind of let one become 100% passive, some low ticket options for clients, but not really do any coaching in my financial space anymore. So I've really like looked at By the Blazer as like, I'm going all in on this business. And if I want to go all in on this business, like I need to stop being like, I'm running 2 businesses. I'm just doing all these things. It needs to become like, how am I actually building a sustainable business? So for me, taking over, I do have a part-time assistant in the one business. She's looking for more support and the ability to work more. So I was like, great, I'm going to move you over to By the Blazer. You're going to start taking over some admin tasks, some client management tasks. That was a really big focus for me. One of the things that I realized in my corporate life is just how critical onboarding is. And I don't think we talk about this in the online space. I guess there's no better way to say it. They just don't focus on the things that actually exist in the real world. And I had to go back and say, if I was running a business in the real world, what would I be doing? And then make decisions that way. So having someone that's dedicated to the onboarding and offboarding process of clients was really critical for me. So onboarding someone in that space right now to run that role for next year. And then I actually ended up hiring an ops team. I thought I was just going to hire more of an ops manager, but I hired someone who has a full team behind her, and she's really going to be a operations strategist for me while also implementing a lot of new things for my business. I was really proud of myself. Like I'm a very operations savvy individual for someone who's also a business coach. I feel like some business coaches, I feel like you are like very similar. Like you can build stuff, you can like put stuff together. I can do that as well. But some people, it's like, what's a Kartra? Like, how do I upload a video? Like, I felt like I had my systems to a place where I'm like, I feel like I'm almost capped out. And so basically I said, this is where I want to be in 3 years. And we're building out all of our systems and our processes to basically match my vision for like the next 2 or 3 years. And so we're changing up some systems. We're adding a ton of automation into the business, even just like checks and balances across the business. I feel like it's all in my head and it needs to be like on paper, more SOPs. I mean, just like the way that we're tracking, and then also putting ourselves in a position where if I brought on additional individuals, like they have all the resources available to dive in without me having to necessarily train them one-on-one of what's going on. So like operations was a really big focus. Probably next year, we're going to focus on marketing as well. Right now, I run 3 TikToks and 3 Instagrams that I maintain on a daily basis. That's not sustainable next year. So I'm really excited to have someone come in and do some things around marketing. So that's kind of probably the next couple months. And then I've hired 2 co-coaches to help in my programs for start of January. So by the time this comes out, we'll have probably 2 to 3, maybe 4 people who are also assisting in my programs and doing regular training. So lots of big changes in a matter of a couple weeks, that's for sure.
And how does that feel?
Good. Scary, but good. The crazy thing about me is once I do something once, it's like I can just continue to do it. So once I made the first hire, I called 10 other people. I was like, hey, I need you for this. I need you for this. I mean, I calculate it's about $200K next year I'll be spending that I was not going to be spending this year. And I'm like, I feel so good about it. It's fine. Like, it's going to be okay. I think like that internal trust in myself is what I'm really excited about, because I wouldn't have been able to do this with confidence last year. I would have overthought. I would have overcalculated. I looked at the numbers. I made the decision I needed. And I trusted that those decisions would propel me forward in the way that I needed to. And it was all going to figure itself out. So a little bit of the logic. I'm still a logical buyer, but I also I kind of was like, let's just fucking do it. Like, let's just go all in. So I'm really excited about it now. 3 weeks ago, I was like, this is scary, but now I'm good. So we had perfect timing of this podcast.
Yeah. I mean, trust me, it's one of those things that like when you look at the bottom line, you're kind of like, "Yeah." But I think our labor is like $550,000 for next year, which is just like, oh my goodness, are you kidding? But when I think of it from that point of view, I'm like, oh, okay, everybody's fired. But then I'm like, no, but on a monthly basis, we're perfectly fine. We're profitable. Everything is good. My question for you about that, because you brought up a really interesting point. You said like, and you're right, both of us are these people. We're the people who know how our tech works. We can make an update to the website. We know how our email automations work. We know how to do our own social media. To me, that is freedom, period. Knowing that if everyone on my team left, I have a business that I can run myself is the ultimate freedom. When people say they're anxious in their business, a lot of times I say, can you update your website? And the answer is no. And a lot of that anxiety I have found is that people don't know how to actually run all of those functions. I don't necessarily think it's massively important to be able to do every single aspect of the business, but I think that true freedom lies there. And it's interesting because I find that as you grow, you start to realize, something that I've gotten to with my now 5 little bibbies, my little businesses, is like, I should be doing only what is required by me to do. To me, that's client work that demands my brain, which like nothing in Dial Zero requires my brain. I don't work with clients there because they don't need me. I need to manage the team. I need to be there to support them. I need to be there to help maintain timelines. With Team AP Consulting, I have to create the content mainly because I have a hard line that I create all content except for like guest participation. So I have to do that. I want to be the face still. So there's like some reels I have to do, but like I don't have to do the social anymore. I don't have to do the email anymore. 2 things that I really don't typically give up, but I'm hiring for next year. I don't need to do the ads. I don't need to make the tech updates. I don't have to do the automations. It's like a lot of me is just like not required anymore. And you drop more and more of it as you grow. And I think that's a really good and brave shift to make because a lot of people think that like, if I'm not doing everything, then this business is going to shut down. But what you just said is, if I have to do something, I can at least.
Yeah, there was a moment I feel like this summer, you always hit like waves in your business. And I made a lot of business mentorship decisions in the spring that were like 2-3 times what I thought I was going to be spending. Shout out to my business coach. She's worth every penny. But I remember when I hired her, I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Like my friend's salary I'm about to spend in 6 months for a business coach. But I also knew like I needed to be put in the spaces that I was investing in. And so you go in, you kind of make a lot of changes, then you kind of have that moment of like, what the hell am I doing a couple months later? And I had that moment and I said, I can either choose to continue to be scared or look at what I've accomplished and say like, okay, if I can do this working full time, if I can do this alone, what the hell can I accomplish with a team? And so it was partial, like I need to do it from a strategic, like I need to have an actual business, not just a me running everything standpoint. But there's also this moment where I was like, I'm doing this. I think you said it the same way when you were like looking at your numbers your first year. I was like, what the fuck? Like I've done this. And I was sitting like in a room with a bunch of my friends who are teachers and, I know what like they're making on a regular basis and I'm making in like a month. And I was like, and they were looking at me and I was thinking like, gosh, there's so much probably resentment here or like judgment here. And I was talking about these things that I want to do in my business. And they're like, Ashley, like, you've done an amazing job. Like, go for it. Go make $10 million next year. Like, we want to support you. Go whatever. And I remembered, I was like, I have people who are watching me to like see what's possible. Like, I want to do this for myself, but I also want someone to be like, you have to go all in. You have to jump in. And like, I just felt this new fire in me. So around August, it was like the busiest time of my life. I held a conference, which thank you again for being there. You were amazing. Held a conference. I had a lot of personal things going on. My TikTok got deleted. My website got deleted. All these things happened. And I was like, I can either like take this as like defeat or I can go for it. And so this like whole shift in me changed in September. I changed over all my systems myself. I made another investment in my business, like did all this. And then over the last 2 months, I've hired a team. I feel so much like excitement. Like I feel like the more I'm pouring in, the more I'm like getting back. And I'm not even caring about how it's going to happen. I just know it's going to happen. And I think we all hit that point in our business. I feel like I've seen that in you for a very long time where you're just like, I know I'm just going to do this and it's going to like work out. And I just know that. And I'm not worrying about how, I'm just doing it. And for a team, for me, that was a big thing is I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to hire who I know that I need to hire. I'm going to make sure it makes sense financially and it's going to work out. And there's just like that like and faith in that, you know? I don't know.
Yeah.
Just like there.
Yeah, it's funny because like at the time of recording this, you don't know this, but the public knows this. Like, but we have this thing called the rules that we're coming out with, and it's like the rules of entrepreneurship as decided by Team AP Consulting and nobody else. And I will not be taking questions at this time. But so we have like the rules for entrepreneurship, and one of our big rules is we win later. And it's this idea that like we are pouring into the business, and I don't really care that I am sacrificing time that I would rather be reading a book or traveling or spending time with family, even sometimes when I have to say no, like this Friday where I have to choose work instead. So like delaying that gratification. And that's kind of what I'm hearing from you is that like I'm pouring myself in so that it will continue to get better and continue to get better. And I really think entrepreneurship, I always say this, is like pushing a boulder up the hill. And the quicker you get that boulder to the top of the hill, the quicker it can just roll down and you can enjoy the view. And if you want to push a little bit every single month, then it might take you a long time to get up there. It's not wrong, but it might take a lot. You might feel a lot of burnout. You might feel a lot of fear about other people passing you, but they're pushing 3 miles a day and then doing a full day of recovery where you're pushing a little bit every single day and you're not really like getting anywhere and you're not really resting. So I say this because I feel like the way that I would suggest someone grows a business is the way you are growing your business, which was a year and a half, 2 years of like genuine nonstop pushing, you know? And now you are kind of saying like, I hit that mark. I can enjoy the view. Everything after this is like dessert.
It really is. And dessert's my favorite. I eat it before my entire meal. So I'm a dessert. We eat dessert before anything else. Like every time I DoorDash, I literally eat the dessert first. So I'm a dessert girl. So that's like what I wanted. I had one of the girls in one of my programs. This is probably a horrible thing to say, but I said it and it helped her. So we're gonna say it out again. But she was talking to me and she was like, "I'm so jealous of like how quickly your business has gone and this." And I was like, "Can I ask you a question?" I was like, "How many hours a week do you work?" And she's like, "Well, right now in my business, probably like 8." I'm like, "Okay." I was like, "Because you have a full-time job, that's fine." I said, "How many TikToks are you posting a week?" And she's like, "Well, like I'm trying to do 3 a week, but like, I just get overwhelmed and blah, blah, blah." I was like, "Great." I was like, when I started my business, I worked 40 hours a week on top of 50 hours a week at a full-time job. I posted 15 TikToks a day. I was like, "Why do you think you're going to have the same numbers as me?" And I said, "I'm not saying that to be negative." I was like, I said that because all I wanted to do was quit my job as quickly as possible. All I wanted to do was hit $1 million. All I wanted to do was these things. So I 10x'd what a normal person felt like they were capable of so I could get there quicker. So then I could have the money to do all the things that you want to be able to do. And I was like, "God, she's going to fire me. Like that was mean." Or like, I usually don't like coach in that way. And she's like, "I need to like go all in. Like I'm totally like skirting this. Like I am not putting the effort in. I'm overcomplicating." And it's crazy because I've seen the client testimonials. Like I've seen so much success in our business, but truly like that shift, I said that to her and I didn't know how that would land. And she's like, "You're absolutely right. Like I'm spending all this time thinking about growing a business, thinking about this. I need to just do." And I think like very similar to you, like we just did. We just took on clients. We figured it out. We set up the systems as we went. Like we got the client payment in and said, "Fuck, I need to serve this client now." Like I did that. And I don't think a lot of people have the balls. I don't think a lot of people just have that internal, like, I'm going to figure it out as I go. And as someone who's an over planner, that's not my typical personality, but that's what I did. Like everything in my business was a lot of a guessing game. It was like, I know I can do this. I'm going to take it on. I'm going to figure it out as I go. And I was smart enough in that process to learn the systems, to learn the marketing, to learn all these pieces of my business where, yeah, if I didn't have a team in 2 or 3 months, I could figure it out. It would probably be a lot. I'd probably not sleep for 3 weeks, but I would figure it out because I did it all myself at the beginning. So that's how I was happy that I ran my business. I teach my clients to run their businesses that way. You kind of just have to keep the ball rolling, and anything that comes your way during, you just kind of figure it out. And then after a year or 2 or 3, there's a lot more refinement. I know that comes, but I wouldn't have done it another way because I'd still probably be sitting at, $100 of sales made, no clients, no TikTok did. Like I would just be in the exact same spot as I was 2 years ago when I started. So the messy action, everyone says it, but I don't think a lot of people actually do it.
Yeah, I think you and I share that messy movement. I'm just going to figure it out. I'm going to start small and scale. I'm going to test and drop things that don't work. I'm going to try things I don't think I'll like in case I do. I think that scares a lot of people because they have to be quote unquote perfect in their actions. But I think that, people could also listen to me talk, which I think I sound very similar to you, which is like, go, fuck it, figure it out, grow, scale, sacrifice. And that's all fine and good. But I think that people can listen to us and think like, I don't have that. How do you have that? And I'm curious. I think that we share something that might make us unique. And I want to see if you agree here. Both of us come from very, very aggressive careers that push you to the extreme of the human nature. Insane hours, insane pressure, yelling at you, but massive bottom lines, huge sales targets. I don't know about you, but like entrepreneurship is hard, but I think my corporate job was significantly harder.
Yes. I say that all the time. I had this moment the other day and I said, 3 years ago, I was at a corporate job. I had to wake up every morning. I woke up every morning at 3 to 3:30, just depending if I pressed snooze for 30 minutes. Woke up, put on a suit, which I thought was really cool at the time. Now I'm like, what the fuck? Put on a full matching suit. I got up. I had to report what I was going to do for the week, how I was going to make sales for the week, even if I was already at quota for the month. Second week of the month, it was like, you're a piece of shit. Where's your revenue this week? And I had to do that. I had a mandatory cold call. I was working all the time. I was in a car, 55,000 miles. I was putting on my car every year. I was at a job. My hair was thinning, like all this stuff. I'm like, that does not even, I would never even touch that in comparison to what I do now. Like today, I'm like, yeah, I have a call with Ashley at 9 a.m. I'll wake up. I think I'll just make sure I set a backup alarm at 8:30. Like, I've never slept until 8:30 in my life. Like, I work less than I've ever worked before. I have the freedom to work when I want. I mean, there's no comparison. Yes, entrepreneurship in totality is very overwhelming. It's challenged me in a completely new way. But I think if I went back and compared the two, I'd be like, this is a walk in the park. It really is.
And like people don't get that. And I think that like you have to understand that like we're coming from different spaces. If you come from like, I worked for 2 years as a solopreneur, 5 hours a week, and I was making $100,000 or $80,000 and I loved it and it was chill. And now I want to scale. You have to understand, I was coming from like being yelled at consistently, to your point, like sales targets on Monday, someone coming to me and saying, we need another $500,000 by Friday. It's Wednesday. Go find it somewhere in the world. And me being like, okay, and doing it every single fucking time. It's unbelievable. It is unbelievable the stress and pressure that comes from one, sales positions, but two, very high pressure situations. To me, I can breathe as an entrepreneur. I can't believe I did it for 11 years, but like, I think that we have that unique position where we can come into this saying like, we know pressure, we know stress, we know sales targets, we know that if you have to find a way from A to B, I don't care if you have to go from Z to S to G to L to B to C to D, all the way over to Z, then like, so be it. We find a way. I remember like one of the funny stories that I tell people in the doers, which is sadly true because I'm psychotic, is that I really wanted to close Churchill Downs as a client. They have like a retail outpost. I wanted to get our products in Churchill Downs. And I figured out who the buyer was and I stalked him on Instagram and I saw that he always went to this coffee shop. I flew my ass to that coffee shop. I went in town for the coffee shop. I had an outbound flight later that day. Like I had one day to see if this was going to work. He comes in the coffee shop. I go stand behind him in line on a fake phone call talking about like, oh yeah, I really want to meet with the retailers of Churchill Downs because our products are selling everywhere. They're selling in this place, in this place, in this place. And he was like, wait, I'm the buyer at Churchill Downs. And I was like, wait, I got to go. And I was like, you're the buyer for Churchill Downs? I'm like trying to get a meeting with someone. And he's like, yeah, I am. I'm like, oh, we should chat. And boom, we get our products in Churchill Downs. And it's like, that's me being like a psychopath.
I love it.
But it's like, it doesn't matter how you get there. It matters that you get there, And like, I do think that there's a difference if you're hurting someone or like stepping on someone, but I didn't hurt anybody. I flew to Kentucky and I lied to the guy. Like, I think I'm okay. I think I'll make it through this one. You know what I mean?
Be like, that hustle. I like that hustle. He's like, I appreciate it. I like that.
Yeah. And I feel like we have to remember that like the people who I always say, like people who are giving advice online are giving advice because it worked for them and because they are passionately trying to help. They have every right to do it, but not everybody is talking to you. just because they're giving advice does not mean that advice is for you, and does not mean that you're supposed to listen to it like it's Bible. Not even me. And so people know up and down and sideways all the crazy shit that I believe, but like, what are some things in the online space that you've noticed that you're kind of like, I would love it if everyone knew this, or I would love it if we listened to this kind of advice, or what kind of thing have you resonated with that you're like, I could die on this hill, that I want you to do this? If mine is like, take messy action and go for it, and like sacrifice and push yourself, and like know what's right for you and have a clear vision, just like some random things. What are some things that you would be like, I would die on this hill, please do this fucking thing?
Yeah, well, I think there's a ton, but I think one of the things that I've really been focusing on more recently, I think for myself, and it goes back to like the hiring and paying into containers and those types of things, I just personally have realized the importance of your circle differently than I think I used to. I've always been like the people you spend time with are the people that you like become. I've always believed that, but I think the last like 6 to 8 months hosting a conference and realizing like sitting and being someone on a stage, but then also watching people on stage, I'm like, whoa, like this is expanding me bigger than just having a conversation. Like, at being in that room, seeing like I have to stand up here and move these, what type of leadership skills do I need to do? What type of public speaking skills should I start working on in order to do that? Like I'm actually looking at my business from like I need to go make more investments into myself to up level to the next level differently than I think people usually do. Because when you go to college, it's just like I go to college to get a good paying job versus I'm going to college to learn these skill sets to put myself in a position where I can navigate these things in the real world. And I think for me, like a big thing that I always tell people is if you want to be the best of the best, you have to be someone who's willing to put yourself in different rooms. You have to be someone who's willing to invest in yourself. You have to be willing to say, I don't have this skill. How am I going to get that skill? And a lot of people hire mentors or business coaches or marketing or whoever, it doesn't matter. But they hire them because they're like, oh, if I'm here, they're going to teach me how to make more money, as opposed to learn how to have better sales skills so I can close bigger clients to make more money. And I think when you actually start to think about you're hiring people to increase your ability to solve problems versus I'm putting myself in the room to make more money, I think that's been a really big focus this year. I even, like a couple weeks ago, I really want to learn bookkeeping. I was like, I need to go hire a bookkeeper. I should go and put myself into a bookkeeping course so I better understand the importance of bookkeeping for my business, because like I have so many people that are bookkeepers, and also like I just want to know what a bookkeeper is going to do for my business. So, like I should learn that. And I'm like, I wouldn't have said that like a year ago, but I'm thinking about like I want to actually understand business, not like I'm just trying to help my business make more money. And I think that's been like a common theme of what I've been saying a lot today, but just that type of process in making investments into your business, I think is a really big thing. And so I preach that a lot to my clients. I'm like, please don't hire me to teach you how to make more money. Hire me so that you can become incredible at sales and really compelling, and that you can understand how people buy from a single piece of content. Put yourself in this room so you can see what it looks like to scale your business more effectively, to see how I run my business so that you can take inspiration from that. So that's been a really big focus of mine, is I'm like, I genuinely believe the more I'm putting out there and investing in myself, I'm seeing that ROI personally and also obviously from a financial standpoint. So that's what I'm very big on. Like something that has always bothered me is when people are like, I want to make $50,000 a month. And I'm like, but you won't invest in your business at all. Like whether it's, system, it does not just have to be a mentor. It can even be just like, I'm going to buy the system that I know is the right thing for me in order to do that. Like I've just always been a big proponent of that investment in yourself. And then I think another one that I've just always gone back to is not having your business live in an online space, but live in like the real world. So how can you from day one be someone who knows how to navigate your business like an actual business versus this like weird kind of world that we've just created in the online craziness that I think people just kind of get sucked into. And so on the day one, when I came up with the idea for Buy the Blazer, I wrote down the words invaluable, disruptive, and one of a kind. And I think for the first year I got sucked into or the first couple months got sucked into well, business coaches do it this way and this and this. And I think about halfway through this year, I was like, fuck that. I'm going to build exactly what I want. I'm going to do it the way I want. I'm going to hire the people that I want. I'm going to take on the clients I want. And I'm going to build something that could rival a company in the Fortune 500 in the next 10 years. And so that shift and realizing that just because everyone else is doing it in your little bubble, that's not how it actually exists in the real world. How can you eliminate that feeling of getting sucked into that? And how can you create something that operates like a true business from day one? and then learning the skill sets that would be also helpful to help you navigate a corporate environment or navigating that in the future. So that's, I think, like the two biggest things that I've been kind of hyper focused on is investing in yourself, pouring into a team, pouring into development, pouring into elevating your skill sets, and then being invaluable, disruptive, and one of a kind from day one.
Yeah, you mentioned like getting in a room with people. I do think like you are a representation of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And I think that that doesn't necessarily mean 5 people in your life. I think like personally, you're a representation of the 5 people you spend the most time with in your personal life. That probably crafts like who you are and your vision of the world and how you treat others. In business, you are a representation of the 5, let's say, peers that you really lean on for trust and support and insight. And, I'm in this like group chat with 5 other agency owners that are running social or marketing or email agencies. And to be able to like lean on them and say like, hey, so I'm coming up against this thing. What would you guys do? I'm leaning on doing it this way. Sometimes they have these incredible ideas where they're like, no, you don't want to do that. I've done that. It doesn't work well. You're going to want to try this. And me thinking, okay, well, that's great insight. Are they right? My point is like having those people to have those conversations with and get into the nuance of your business and to lean on and having those friends that are like ride or die for you is so massively important. It's one of the biggest reasons that I love the Doers Club is because like the women in that space, you've seen it, are so there for each other and so supportive and so genuinely honest about how they're building and growing and what they're experiencing. And I think it's just one of those things that like women supporting women is actually incredibly beautiful if you see it done well. It's not necessarily like clap for her, she's a girl. It's like, no, we all want everybody to win together. I'm really glad that you mentioned that because I think that one of the things that we forget is that like if you think this is impossible, you're probably around people who also think it's impossible.
1,000%. I think that's like what I'm so grateful for. Shout out to like my personal inner circle. About like 2-3 years ago, just after post Paycom, I remember I was having a conversation with my friend and she's a nurse and she's like, I really struggled when you were at Paycom because everything was so money driven, money obsessed. And like, I know you as a person, like, I think that your values are so much more than just the financials. And I was like, I had to get out of that headspace. Like I was just in this horrible job that like, I didn't want to be part of. And it just really took me down a circle of like prioritizing the wrong things. And so when I became an entrepreneur, I was like, I'm going to be the best at my job in my own version of best. Doesn't have to be like I'm actually number one, but like I'm going to pour everything into being a business owner and doing it right, doing it ethical, which is also sometimes hard to find, but doing it the right way. But also I'm going to pour back into the people that I love. And what's really was intimidating to me is about a year ago, I started posting more about like our financial wins as a business and client wins and things. And I was looking at my friends. I was like, if this bothers you, like, let me know. And they're like, no, we're so proud of you. Like, I love this. And watching my friends, and I have 3 friends right now that are trying to become full-time entrepreneurs this year that didn't have a business a year ago. And like, it's not like, oh, I'm so inspirational or anything, but to watch people shift and change and elevate because you're putting yourself in that space, they're putting themselves in that space. Like, I think that's such an incredible thing. So my personal relationships have been incredible this past year. And then my investments in just my own business. And exactly, I mean, like the Doers Club is such an incredible example. I have my own mentorship programs that have been amazing. And just watching women come in and be like, I would love to make this amount of money or do this. And then they're like, no, I could be $1 million business owner. I could run a team. I could host conferences. I have half my women who want to do in-person events this coming year. Like that was intimidating me before. I spoke on a stage this summer when that was my biggest fear 10 years ago. Like, what's possible for you? It's not always about the money. I think money is incredible as a business owner. We obviously care about it, but how you feel about what is possible for you, what is like in front of you. I think that's the most exciting thing when someone's like, I didn't think I could do this. And now I could because I'm around people who are encouraging me and motivating me and promoting me and just pouring back into me the way that I'm now pouring into myself. I think that is like, that's the reason I think that I wake up every single day is when someone's like, I didn't think I could do this. And now like, go watch me. Like that shit is so cool. And so how I can do that better as a business owner to create more of those spaces, and then how I can fill those spaces with women who I know and how I can propel them the right way. Like that's what I want my business to do. Yes, I want it to make me a lot of money. Yes, I'd like to retire in 10 years and own a yacht. Sure. Great. Yes, I'd like to like pay for Nora's college maybe one day or all these cool things. Like I have all these big visions. But like, that's what I want. I'm like, how can I create more spaces, better spaces? And how can I bring more people into those spaces to help them thrive? Like, And it just goes back to like what's important to me, which is investments in yourself. If you're not willing to invest in yourself in whatever way, like you're just not going to see the results that you want. And I think both you and I have spent a lot of money putting ourselves in those rooms. And obviously it's a testament to what we've been able to accomplish. So I will say on that every single day.
You know, it's so funny because you and I both have had this experience. Mine was a little bit longer ago, so I'm wondering if this future part will happen to you. But when I first started my business, you know, I had all these people in the fashion industry watching me, which is like kind of nerve-wracking in and of itself, because I'm like, here I am going from like meetings with like the vice president of Nordstrom or like the president of Bloomingdale's or like the Dillard family. And now I'm like, on my Instagram course, you know, because that's how I started, was selling a course on Instagram. And I got a message from someone that I used to work with. And she said, oh, how the mighty have fallen. We're door-to-door salesmen now. And I was like, hell, bitch. No, like, fuck you for saying that. It stung for a couple days, and then I just let it roll off, where I was like, how small do you have to be to think that to care at all about what I'm doing? Like, let's be totally honest. Like, concern yourself with yourself, please. And I just kept going. You know, I did let it phase me. I let it phase me and move through me. And it moved through me in a few days, kept going, kept focusing, was doing things for myself. I don't know. I'm not about to shapeshift my business for some fucking hater. And lo and behold, a year later, year and a half later, guess who's like, by the way, I quit the fashion industry and I've been following along and I'm so inspired by your journey that I'm starting my own business full time. I just want to let you know that you really inspired me and that you've like done such a great job. You should be so proud of yourself. And I wrote her back and I said, yeah, no thanks to you. Look at the last fucking message you sent me. How about you never do that again? Okay. And she was like, oh my God, like I was in such a bad place. I'm like, I know you were in a bad place. Don't ever fucking do that to someone again. Okay. All right. Are we good? And it's like, it's just so funny because like, if I would have let that get to me, then one, she wouldn't have had her business, which inevitably is my goal. Like my goal happened. And two, I would have let my business go because of someone who actually ended up loving what I was doing. It's such a testament to like staying true to your course and not letting anyone's opinions tell you not to do something, anyone's like feedback tell you not to do something. And, you know, I know that you've experienced a little bit of like snide remarks too. And it's tough.
So tough. It's the thing that was really hard is I grew my business on TikTok. I'm not saying Instagram is like easy on you and TikTok's hard by any means, but maybe 6 months ago, a regional vice president at my last company, second to last company, commented something like horrible to me. I screenshotted it. I still have it. I thought about, I was like, what I could do with it. Like she'd be screwed. I really should. And I just remember I was like, how do you even care about me? Like you are so petty to care about me. And I just, that one was really shocking to me to like get that. But yeah, TikTok was definitely, it was really hard. I got a lot of comments about even things not even my business that were really hard. My appearance, like, man, I really struggled with that for a bit. So there was moments where I'm like, this is so tough. And then I used to tell myself every time I'd get like a user 573 whatever comment, I was like, this person is probably a greasy old man. He's probably making this comment sitting on the toilet at his mother's house. And I put that weird visual in my head and then it never bothered me again. And so sometimes when my clients are like, I'm so stressed, this person, I'm like, this is what's happening right now. It's this greasy old man. I would just say that. And I detached from like that as a person who cares, as someone who I like value. But yeah, same thing. There was times where I would like second guess myself or I'd be called all sorts of horrible names. I got called scammer all the time. I'm like, okay, like, and you just kind of have to move past that. So like that mental toughness is really hard. But yeah, I've gotten it from a bunch of people. But now it's funny. I get so many messages like, you inspire me and you do this. And I was like, I wonder what you were talking and saying to me or saying about me like 2 years ago. And it doesn't matter to me, but I always wonder that because you kind of have to get through that past and then they always look back. Who cares? And I don't feel personal need for a lot of validation anymore. And I think sometimes when we go into entrepreneurship or anything scary, we need more validation because we're scared, we're nervous. So like, give me validation, I'm doing the right thing. And I think as an entrepreneur, the best like piece of advice I can give you is like, do it 100% for yourself and don't care if like anyone approves of you, because if you can do that, there will be people that will gravitate towards you because of that and your business will grow. But if you do it because you want validation or you want to just have the word entrepreneur under your name because you think it's flashy or cool, like it's just never going to probably pan out for you. So do it for yourself. Don't care what anyone else says and know that people are going to question you and doubt you. And that's just kind of part of the game.
I also think that when people enter entrepreneurship, they think there is a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. And everyone who's talking online is giving the right way. So like I have to listen to everybody because they have the same secret sauce. And I think like the deeper that you get into entrepreneurship, you realize there's like 900 ways to do it. And you really have to like stick the landing on yours. Like you really have to commit to the road that you are trying to take. And that doesn't mean you can't deviate, but I think that committing for like 6 months, committing to a year, really seeing something through is super helpful where it's like, okay, everybody's telling me I have to post 3 times a day on Instagram, but this person said, don't post on Instagram, post on LinkedIn. Who's correct? For me, I'm like, they both are, right? So find which one really aligns with your preferences, do that thing, keep going. And then you get deeper into business and you realize, wait, she did the opposite of me and she made money. She did the same as me. She made money. So there's a million ways for me to make money. You stop really caring about how people get there. I think the only thing that businesses have in common, whether you are selling pharmaceuticals or real estate or coaching packages or social media packages or a digital course, the one thing every single business has in common is the goal of profit. And I think that when we come from a place of profit, when we come from a place of making sure that we can pay ourselves, we can pay our taxes, we can pay our team, we have money left over, that profit left over, then everybody kind of like focuses on that goal instead. We have to remove like the ego goal. We have to remove the goal of looking cool. We have to remove the goal of perfection. We have to remove the goal of acceptance. And we really just have to build a business that fits in with the lifestyle that we want in a profitable way. And you're doing that.
Yeah, 1000%. I probably have the conversation. I'm sure you've had these conversations too, where someone's like, well, maybe I'm going to change my business model because this seems to work really well for this person. Like, that doesn't mean it's going to work really well for you. I mean, there are people who their businesses are so insanely successful. I'm like, how does that work? Then I'm like, but it maybe just works for them. It doesn't mean that I have to figure out how it can work for me. I can either take inspiration from that and apply that, or I can just say like, that just really is the right thing for their business. I don't want to grow that way. And, I've had, I think, especially the last little bit where I've like, okay, what is my product suite? What do I want this to look like for the next couple of years? How do I make sure that I'm not taking too much inspiration or feeling pressure to build it a certain way? How do I make sure that it makes sense for the type of business I want to run? And there's people who have 100% passive programs. There's, individuals like you that have memberships. I tried a membership because everyone was doing a membership. And I was like, I don't like memberships. I think I told you at the conference, I'm like, I don't like running a membership myself, but you love your membership and that's amazing. And like, we can both have incredibly successful businesses. Ours are very different from a product suite standpoint, but to look at my business and be like, this is how I want to grow it for myself. And then you look at yours and say like, this is how I want to do it. And for that to be very successful because we're applying business principles versus like online space expectation. And so that's what I feel like I had that conversation a lot with my, newer business owners year and a half in. They're always like, but this person does this and they have this funnel and then all these people watch this freebie. And then I'm like, that's great. But also like they have 300,000 followers. And so they don't even have to have a really good funnel. Like they're just going to get natural traction because they're obnoxious following they built like 10 years ago. So there's so many different things that you have to consider, but I agree. Most people aren't wrong. It's just about finding what works for you and just really leaning into that.
Yeah, because if someone says to me, like, I want your business because I want to take days off and like have a chill life and I want to have the one business and I want to do that, whatever it is, I would say to them, like, then you don't want my business. Because I don't want those things. I don't want to take a day off right now. I mean, I do, obviously. I take a day off. I take vacation. I'm not saying that. But like I work pretty much every day in some capacity. This is when I'm pushing. I want to push for 5 years, at least in Team AP Consulting. I want to sell the agency in 2025. I want to, sell me time in 2026, 27. And I'll have 2 exits under my belt and I'm going to take that money and start my restaurant. And I'm very loud about that, right? And then I'm going to have this restaurant that I'm going to be running. It's like, it doesn't end, right? And that's because like, I might not be like an artist who like my entire life is art, but I'm a businesswoman and this is what I love to do. And the people that say like, I love graphic design and I want to do it for the rest of my life, you probably shouldn't be like following in my lead because I'm trying to run all of these different shows. So I think a really big thing that we're trying to push this year is this idea that like you have to really know where you're going and you have to take advice from people that are walking that route and you have to know what advice is not for you. But Ashley, I'm just so grateful to know you, to have you here, you know, to be able to like go to breakfast with you and catch up and hear about life. Thank you for doing this with me.
It's so crazy that to Ashley St. Louis, I remember finding you and being like, hopefully one day we can become friends. So I'm really glad that we've gotten to spend more time together.
Yeah. No, it's been great. And your conference was amazing. Do you have any plans to do that anymore?
I feel like I needed like a breather from it. And now I'm like, honestly, I love hosting events. It doesn't necessarily have to be in that format, but I think I'm taking inspiration from you on the multiple business thing. I think in the next year or two, I'm looking to maybe buy an Airbnb or I don't know. We're kind of thinking through that, but I love in-person events. I want to do more of them. I want to go to more of them. So either find them to go to or I'll start hosting them myself.
There you go.
So we'll see what
happens. Well, we have one in Napa in May or April if you want to come to Napa. Well, guys, thanks for tuning into another episode of The Unfiltered Entrepreneur, this time with the lovely Ashley Bennington. Ashley, where can we follow you, fall in love with you, the whole shebang?
Yeah, so if you find my just personal Instagram, it's just Ashley N. Bennington. That will lead you pretty much everywhere else. That's also my TikTok handle. So follow me there and send me a message and let me know if you learned anything from the episode.
Thank you so much, guys. I will talk to you next time on The Unfiltered Entrepreneur. Before we go, I'm inviting you on my mission to help female entrepreneurs, okay? I am a girl's girl, and I want to see every single one of you empowered, living your biggest and boldest life, and the easiest way for people to access free information and a community of like-minded women is by sharing this podcast. Leave a review on Apple, rate us on Spotify, but more than anything, if you liked this episode, please take a screenshot, share it to Instagram, and tag us so we know that you are loving the content, but also other people can see that you are an entrepreneur who is focused on her game. Now remember, the motto of the Team AP space is, it's not hard, it's new. And if nobody has told you this, I want you to remember, you've got this. Entrepreneurship is hard. I love you, I believe in you, and I am so grateful to be in service of you, whether free or paid. And until next time, stay focused, babes.